Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. Welcome to my channel. My name is Maaike, and today we are doing a almost full face of dupe tutorial. Some of these are quite well-known dupes, but I think I also have a couple of unexpected ones in here that I think are quite new finds. At least they are for me. So that's why I thought we could talk about those things. So I'm going to split my face into two halves. And then we are going to be doing, I think, drugstore on this side and then more expensive on the other side. So let's just get to it. Of course, our first step is going to be primer. And these are the two primers I have for you. I don't think they are exact dupes in the sense that it's the same shade, but the principle of these two products is quite similar, I think. This is the Becca First Light Priming Filter, and this is the Catrice Light Correcting Serum Primer in the shade Morning Glow. The minute I saw Catrice coming out with this like pinky purpley shade, I knew this had to be inspired by the Becca. So I've never actually put these side by side yet, so this will also be pretty exciting for me. Because even if they're not dupes, but they do sort of do a similar thing, then that could be the thing. This is the primer that I've been using for the past couple of weeks. These little bottles don't come with a whole lot of product, but it gives a very glowy finish. So let me just show you what this looks like on. So as you can see, the Catrice adds a lot of glow to the face. Let's just see how the Becca fares. So immediately in texture, this is a lot thinner actually, and it's of course purple, whereas the Catrice one is more pink. But we're going to apply this to this side of my face. So I definitely think that the effect of the Catrice is even more glow than the Becca. So if you're into that glow, definitely look into the Catrice. I look absolutely crazy right now. This looks like the Tin Man almost. This does not. Under makeup though, this looks really nice and it makes my makeup last quite a bit longer as well. I haven't used the Becca a whole lot. It's quite a new product to me. But I was hoping that these could be something similar. I feel the texture of this is a bit thicker. And that's why it probably also applies a little bit more concentrated, but I do have to say that under makeup, this can look really, really nice. This looks really nice too. It's also really nice and glowy, but it's definitely less glow than this, and this has no shimmer. So I think actually I like the effect of the Catrice a little bit better than the Becca. If you're into a more subtle glow in your face primer, then that can work. But yeah, so far I think they're not exactly dupes, but I do think that Catrice definitely had a very close look at the Becca primers when they started developing these. Right, so I quickly applied a little bit of eye primer. I just used my Catrice one that I use all the time. You really don't need to go to a high-end brand for eyeshadow primer, I think, nowadays anymore, because really, we all know where that is at. So we are moving on to foundation next. And the foundation I have for you is a brand new one. This is currently launching around the world. I believe the UK got the premiere already in March, but now in May it should start rolling out worldwide, which is why I wanted to feature it in this video. And as you can see, when you put these side by side, Maybelline was definitely inspired by the IT Cosmetics CC Cream. Now, something you should know already, that I already reviewed the Maybelline on my blog, and I also have a review up for the IT Cosmetics. I don't think these are dupes, but a lot of people are saying they are, because of course they look very similar in the packaging. The Maybelline also boasts about it being SPF 50, anti-pollution, etc, etc. But this also has like an anti-aging hydrating serum, which the Maybelline doesn't claim to have. So this has a bit of a skincare property to it, whereas the Catrice or the Maybelline does not. This is supposed to be more full coverage. I always find that for a CC cream, the IT Cosmetics is a lot more full coverage than you might expect. And I feel that the textures of these are completely different. Let me just pump these out on my hand side by side so you can see. That is the Maybelline. So as you can see, the Maybelline starts dripping straight away. It's a lot more liquidy. The IT Cosmetics is a lot creamier. IT Cosmetics I have in a shade Fair, which is the lightest shade available. And this is in the shade Fair Porcelain, which is also the lightest shade available. So I feel that these are not exactly the same because the IT Cosmetics just has a much different texture. than the Maybelline, but let's put these side by side to see what happens on the face. So I'll apply the Maybelline first because I want to prevent it from running everywhere. So on this side, you can see the Maybelline. Here, you can see the IT Cosmetics. I can definitely see a difference already. Like the Maybelline looks a lot more liquidy, a lot more glowy if you put it on concentrated than the IT Cosmetics. I'm going to blend in the Maybelline side first. So this is what the Maybelline looks like on. As you can see, it's quite light on me, and it definitely is full coverage. This is one of those foundations where just a little goes a long way. I can see why people would like to compare these but I do feel that in terms of packaging, these are very similar, but you can see that despite the Maybelline being lighter than the IT Cosmetics, it has just a whole lot more coverage. You can definitely see that the IT Cosmetics is a lot more natural. This is definitely more of a fuller coverage. Less product is needed to go a longer way. I feel that this kind of blends into the skin a lot more. This sits on top of it just a little bit more, I would say. But they definitely have a very different effect. The IT Cosmetics it's very luminous, it's very nice, but this is just a little bit more, well, I wouldn't say obvious makeup-y, but this definitely accentuates more of my dry areas, like here on my nose and here on my forehead. Like around here, I can definitely see the makeup sitting on my skin. It's just a little bit more obvious. Also because it is just a more fuller coverage. It is a very nice effect. It's a very nice foundation, but in terms of dupes, I know everybody is saying that they are dupes, but I don't feel they are. I just feel they are two completely different products. This is much more full coverage than the IT Cosmetics, which it's still a nice product, but if you're looking, I still think this does something a bit more unique. Concealer, and this is one that everybody knows, Tarte Shape Tape and Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define. I prefer the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define over the Shape Tape. I feel that this is a little bit too thick and creepy, like crepey on me, whereas this is a bit more natural. So let's apply Makeup Revolution first. So now that I've applied a full face of base makeup apart from powder, I think that you can really see the difference. I used a more full coverage foundation on this side, but a lighter weight concealer on this side. And on the other side, it's vice versa. It's a lighter foundation, but a more heavyweight concealer. And then I think I do achieve a very similar look using these products, as in they look quite even. I do feel that on the Maybelline like drugstore side, it's a little bit more glowy. There's a little bit more shine there. This looks a little bit more natural, a little bit more, I wouldn't say satin, but there's definitely a little bit more high shine going on here. I don't necessarily think that that's just down to the primer, which was a lot more glowy. And of course, we are going to set it with powder. And for the purpose of this video, I wanted to put these side by side. This is the Hourglass Diffused Light Ambient Lighting Powder, and this is a very light yellowy powder. But before I started using this, I actually used up a full size of the NYX HD Finishing Powder, and especially when I first switched from this to this, I felt that this can do something very similar to the Hourglass. I think it's a very good sort of like drugstore alternative. Is it a dupe? Will it do the same thing? This is more of like an HD setting powder, and this is more glowy. So it's more of like a finishing powder. I use a finishing powder like I would a setting powder. So for me, there isn't a whole lot of a difference, but I think that this can again even out the sides a little bit because this is a bit more mattifying and this is a bit more glowy. So let's see what the effect is on the skin. So I feel that now that I've put everything on, it definitely, again, on this side, it's a lot more full coverage, I feel. And on this side, it looks a lot more natural. It's like a natural glow from within. And this is a bit more artificial. It's definitely also a little bit more cakey. It's still a little bit lighter than this too, but I actually feel that the Maybelline foundation is like a hair too light on me, and it doesn't really oxidize or anything like that. I'm not really seeing anything in like terms of creasing or making like a really big difference that way. But overall, I feel that this side looks a little bit nicer than it does on this side. It still works, but that's just the way it is. Let's do some brows. Quickly applied some brow powder, but for brows, of course, we just cannot do this video without comparing these two. This is the Essence Make Me Brow, and this is one of my favorite all-time brow gels ever. And it's apparently a dupe for the Gimme Brow, but I've never actually seen anybody putting these on side by side. The Essence only comes in 2 shades, I believe, but the Benefit comes in a lot more, so that is a good thing. But let me just try these on and see for you whether they are a dupe. So the shade is definitely different. The Essence one is a little bit lighter than the Benefit one, but I feel that the Benefit one is also a little bit more cool toned. The Essence definitely has a little bit more of an orange tone to them. But in terms of what they do for my brows, I think the Benefit one defines my brow hairs just perhaps a little bit better than the Essence one, but I think they have a very similar effect. Now, my next step in my makeup routine would be bronzer, and this is actually a dupe I didn't find. I found Kelly Gooch talking about this, and I just thought I would try it out for you on camera. This is the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. This is, of course, a cult favorite for many different people, and apparently it's a dupe for the Becca Sunlit Bronzer in the shade Bali Sands. Now, this may be a bit more yellow toned than the Butter Bronzer, but they definitely have a similar wavy pattern running through it, so that looks promising. And I think the shades in the pan, when you put them side by side, they definitely look very different, very similar. So let's just put these on. All right, so I think, I'm not sure about you, but to me in real life, these look nearly identical. I do have to say that I think the Becca, again, looks a little bit more natural, blends out a little bit more easily. As you can see, the Physicians Formula is a lot more concentrated in one spot, whereas the Becca just diffused very naturally. But I feel that essentially they're the same shade, they have the same effect. I really like this. This is definitely a good dupe, so thanks, Kelly, for that. Highlighter is next, and this is one that I already talked about last year when I did a video all about pinky purple highlighters, and I was trying to find a drugstore dupe for Prismatic Amethyst by Becca, because this is one of my all-time favorite highlighters. It also has a lot of hues. I'm not sure if you can see that, but there's quite a big dent in the middle there. And I found that my favorite of all of the drugstore options that I've tried is Colourpop's Hippo. These are, of course, not the same in terms of texture. Hippo is definitely a cream to powder formula, but in terms of shade, I feel they do something very similarly. So if you just want to go for the look, then Hippo is definitely a great alternative to Becca's Prismatic Amethyst. So because these are a different texture, I feel they are not 100% the same in terms of what they do. The Colourpop is definitely more of like that glassy skin-like feel, but in terms of tone, like the color of them is definitely the same. I like the Becca a little bit more because this is just, especially when you blend it in a little bit, it's just this very nice like glow from within look. This is nice as well, but this is just a bit more harsh. So if you like a more blinding highlight, then of course the Becca can be built up to that. But for everyday, I prefer this a little bit more than that. So in terms of what this makeup look is giving me so far, I think it's very similar. It just really comes down to just small differences. And now the dupe that I'm probably the most excited for, because it's one that I think I found. I was just swatching some blushes in my makeup collection, and one of my favorite blushes is the Hourglass Mood Exposure blush. And this is one of their ambient lighting blushes, and I love this shade to death. Ugh, I can't talk today. So if I swatch this for you, there is Mood Exposure. Ooh. And then I was just asking myself, like, what could be a dupe for that in my collection? And then I swatched this next to it. This is the Matte Touch Blush by Essence in the shade Blossom Me Up. And I had actually expected one of my Kiko blushes to be very similar to this, but it's a little bit lighter, but it's the closest that I have in my collection. So I think actually when you sheer this out a little bit on the face, that it will look very, very similar indeed. So let's just try that. Oh yeah. On the face, really, no difference. There is no difference between these two sides. The Essence is a little bit more matte. The Ambient Lighting blushes have a little bit of a sheen running through it. So again, I feel it therefore feels a little bit more natural. This is a bit more defined, but in terms of shade, these two are match. And then the dupe that, of course, I mean, this palette is a dupe because it has pretty much exactly the same shades. This is the Revolution Reloaded Iconic Division eyeshadow palette. And when I put these side by side, I'm gonna try and do that for you in a minute, you will see that these shades aren't exactly the same. They're close, but they're not exactly the same, I would say. I think that the Anastasia ones are a little bit more defined. They have a slightly different undertone. This is a little bit more samey. Especially these two greens, I feel they pretty much look identical. So I'm going to be creating one of my favorite looks with both of these palettes. In terms of shades, there is a difference because the Makeup Revolution has 15 shades and the Anastasia has 14. In this you get a black, which the Anastasia doesn't have. So as you can see, perhaps here the mustards just look more like true mustards. I feel that the Untamed and Destiny is really like a difference between like a khaki and more like a forest green, whereas in the Makeup Revolution, that shade difference just isn't really there. So I'm just going to be using these palettes to create a makeup look real quickly, and then we'll look at the finished result at the end, and then I will hopefully just fast forward you through first doing the eye look with this because I don't really know yet what I want to do, and then I'll recreate it on my other eye using this so you can also have a look at the blendability. That's it. Right, so I finished the eye look, and when I look at these, then the Makeup Revolution doesn't come even an inch within what the Subculture can do. I have to say I'm using this mirror today to have a look at everything. While they look very similar in the pan, my experience now that I've used both of them side by side, I mean, these shades are just a lot more muted and a lot more muddy on me than the Anastasia. I mean, I think you can see that. They're just not as vibrant. They have a lot more gray in them, I feel. So they don't come across as defined. The eye look is definitely not the same, in my opinion. The biggest difference for me was in these two shimmers that I used. I used this in the inner corner, and then I used a little bit of electric all over the lid. And actually the combination of the greens and electric is one of my favorite combinations to do with this palette because it's such a pretty like duochrome, very defined look. And then I used the purple and the berry shade also from this palette, the same thing again, on the lower lash line. And also that is a lot darker and a lot more intense than I was able to do with this palette. I just feel that these tones are a lot more muted. Are they easier to work with? I think if you're a beginner, then that's a most definite yes. This is not a beginner-friendly palette. You need to tap off your brush. You only need a very, very little bit. And I was actually using a little bit of this Dawn shade, which I didn't use in this at all. But I used that to sort of clean up above here a little bit, because I feel that these shades, where they don't fully blend, I mean, that's like a thing, right, with this palette, I feel that using a shade like this in a very wispy brush, you can still create a pretty good blended out line, I feel. And I do have to say that I just really prefer this side over this side in terms of the colors. They're just much more vibrant, much more intense, and I found them easier to work with in terms of intensity. And especially the shimmers in this palette are a lot better than this. I mean, if I close my eyes, the like electric shade dupe in this doesn't hold a candle to this, because this has like a really nice duochrome shift, and this actually has flecks of glitter in it, which is not a great thing. So that being said, yes, Makeup Revolution is really good at duping more expensive palettes. A lot of people use the Makeup Revolution over Subculture because there was so much drama surrounding this. Now that I've tried Subculture myself, I mean, I only bought this at the end of 2018, so right before it was discontinued, and I owned this before and I liked it, but I have to say that now that I've tried them side by side, I prefer Subculture. I definitely do. It's a lot more vibrant, a lot more intense than the Makeup Revolution. So if you're on a budget or you are a beginner, then Makeup Revolution can still do something for you, because this is only a $5, but this is where it's at for me between these two. So now we're almost done. We have mascara, and mascara is something that I don't really look for dupes because I mainly just use drugstore. But I'm currently using this mini of the NARS Climax mascara, and I'm quite liking it. I just feel that it doesn't really deposit a whole lot of product to my lashes. So I already know I won't be purchasing a full size of this. That's what the wand looks like. But then Essence came out with the You Better Work Volume and Curl Mascara, and this has the same issue for me. It barely puts any product on my lashes, and I actually feel that it looks a little bit similar to the NARS on my eyelids. So that's why I wanted to put these two side by side. So let me apply Essence to this eye. Let's do it in the correct order, shall we? Right, so I only ever apply these kind of mascaras to my top lashes, and then I have to say that they definitely have a very, very similar effect on my lashes. Like, it's insane. The Essence is perhaps a little bit more defining even, but I feel they do something very similar to my lashes. They're volumizing, and they are a little bit more defined, but I feel they don't really do a whole lot for my lashes. They are definitely not my favorite mascara of all time. These don't make my lashes go like boom, which is why I'm going to layer this waterproof Catrice mascara on top of it, because I feel that that is always the finishing touch that I need with these. And then we've come to the end of the makeup look, and the last thing, of course, that we still have, lipstick. I was swatching out some lipsticks because, of course, I wanted to find a dupe, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could find a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk lipstick? This is a cult favorite. Everybody raves about this. Let me swatch it for you right here. There we have Pillow Talk. And I was just swatching a couple of things. I found on Pinterest that people were saying that the Essence Perfect Match lipstick is also a dupe for this. And I would have to say that yes, it definitely looks like a closed dupe as well, but that is no longer available. So then I swatched one of my current favorite nude lipsticks, which is the Catrice Power Plumping Gel Lipstick. And let me just put the two bullets side by side. And then you can already see that these are very similar in tone. Now, the only thing you should know is that Pillow Talk is a matte, and this has a shine finish. So they're not the same finish, but I feel that in terms of shade, this is the closest thing I have in terms of a dupe for Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk. Here's what I think I'm going to do, because when you apply something shiny, your lips look fuller. So I'm going to be using the matte lipstick by Charlotte Tilbury on my bottom lip, and then I'll use the Catrice on my top lip, and we'll see how they compare once they're on. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm very desperately trying not to rub my lips together so that they don't mix, but I barely can see a difference on my lips. I feel that once the Charlotte Tilbury goes on, it also has that hint of shine to it. It's not as strong of a shine as the Catrice, I have to say, but I think that this is definitely a dupe for Charlotte Tilbury's Pillow Talk. So there you have it. That is a full face of dupe makeup that I have found. Some of these are brand new and that I think I actually found myself, so yay. But I just thought that it would be fun to talk about some more affordable and some high-end products, and that we could create an entire makeup look with that. So that is why we went for all of these products. Let me know in a comment down below if you have found any dupes recently. I've never done this before, so this was quite interesting to also go through my makeup collection and try and find some dupes. So I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. And I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. I am currently doing Everyday May, which means I have a new video for you on every single workday of the week. So Monday through Friday. It's just for the month of May. I don't have any intention of posting any more videos than my regular three-day-a-week schedule, but I just thought it would be fun in May to have a little bit more content going live. So without further ado, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Bye!